Hey everyone, this is Keith Scott from out in Sydney, Australia. I'm one of the voices of Bullwinkle J. Moose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kenny and Andy McPhee.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny and welcome to Relentless and Unstoppable. We have another amazing guest coming on the channel today, so please hit like and subscribe. And after this episode, please stay tuned to the RNU channel for more amazing guests. Let's get this on!
Hey everybody, how you doing? Just a quick little share of why I started Relentless and Unstoppable. It was for one very simple reason, because of Doug Kenny. Nothing to do with me at all, zero. I was just coaching Doug, and he took on the coaching and mentoring, and he made all the changes. He took all the suggestions from his parents as well as my coaching, but it was all about Doug, his breakthrough and his weight loss, his willingness to accept that he is dealing with high functioning autism and other issues, but he's never quit, he's never given up. So we did one interview with him to share his story, and then we decided to start interviewing other people. And Doug has now taken over the whole channel, and he does all the interviews, he runs everything. He's just an amazing young man. So RNU was born from simply what an amazing young man Doug is, and his story needed to be shared.
That's great. I sure hope, and I'm sure you already plan to, I sure hope that your children get, scanned.
Yes. So great question. So when I'm going to show you a picture of Jeffrey because he's perfect. And I have to do that because I'm a mother. This is my son. This is little baby Jeffrey. He's 5 years old. He takes Mandarin Chinese at school and he's in chess club and he loves Formula One. So I talk about him like he's a part of my story, but he's his own human being. He's got his own little life. So Douglas, my story actually has a part two, which is really an exciting and incredible part to the story and the mission of John Ritter Foundation. So when in 2010, my family entered the John Ritter Research Program, which, to be very clear, is not actually a part of the John Ritter Foundation. We fund parts of the John Ritter Research Program. It is a program, it is a lab out of Houston run by Dr. Diana Milowitz, who sits on our board. They're our partner. Just wanted to put that out there. And she is an incredible geneticist. And so the funds that we raise, a lot of them go towards research, and a lot of that funds go towards the John Ritter Research Program. And she called me 18 months ago, so after I dissected, and she called me, and I was in Houston doing something completely different, and she let me know that the John Ritter Research Program actually found the genetic abnormality that was causing dissection in my family. I have a protein deletion an in-frame protein deletion in the MYH11 gene. I hope I said that right. Ellen will correct me later if I didn't say it correctly. And we were then able to test my sisters. Because this big bad wolf, we didn't have a name, right? We knew it was aortic dissection, but we didn't know what was causing it. So we were just treating all of us like we were at risk. And I'm one of three, and one of my older sisters tested positive, but one tested negative. So it was an extremely bittersweet moment. So we're watching the one with the malformation we're watching her like a hawk, and she will most likely have a prophylactic open chest surgery, but she will not dissect. Mark my words, Douglas. I'm willing to put that on camera. She will not have an aortic dissection. And then, my son is so young. He's 5. He has no risk factors right now, and getting a great sample from him would be quite a struggle. And so we're just waiting until he's about 8 when he decides whether or not he wants to do impact sports or not to test him. That's truly the only reason. It's not because we don't want the information. And we're just I feel so lucky that we figured it out because honestly, there's still so many out there that we don't know, including the Ritter gene. We don't know the Ritter gene. We don't know what is causing aortic dissection in his family, but it is so obviously genetic. And so we do treat all of his kids as though they were that they are at risk, because they are at risk, right? We know each one of them
Yeah.
has a 50% chance of having this. And so I know they'll let me share this with you, that they each get echocardiograms every year to just monitor their aortas. And that is what we can do. And one of them may in the future have to get prophylactic surgery. What they may not, we don't know. But right now we have the education and the power that none of them will dissect either. So one dissection should be the alarm in your family that everyone should be monitored. That's a first-degree relative.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that your guys are being proactive about that. Being proactive will help solve a lot of problems,
Absolutely. We are really pivoting. We still want to help people with their life post-dissection. Like, that's just quality of life post-dissection is extremely important. And helping families after they've lost someone to a dissection is extremely important. And we will continue to do that. But we are really strategically looking towards how can we prevent not only fatalities from aortic dissections, but how can we prevent them altogether? How do we catch these aortic aneurysms that are asymptomatic that need to be replaced with a Dacron graft? How do we do that? And so these are the big questions that we are answering at the John Ritter Foundation. And part of it is talking to people like you, Douglas, and just getting the word out there. And if somebody comes out of this today saying, oh yeah, my dad had an aortic dissection, I hope they hear me when I say, if your dad, your brother, your mom, your aunt, your sister, your child, anybody that's in your first-degree relative group needs to get an echocardiogram. That is key, because that is one of the biggest risk factors, is someone in your family, your immediate family, your first-degree relatives has had an aortic dissection.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to see that your son likes F1. I'm a motorsports fanatic too.
Are you really? Okay. Who do you watch Formula One?
I've watched only the Monaco Grand Prix, to be honest. I'm more into sports cars and Indy cars and all that. And did you hear a few years back how the IndyCar series came to Nashville?
I did.
I went to that very first race and saw the Stadium Super Trucks, the Trans Am 2 race, GT America, and the IndyCar race. And on the first day there, I actually had like the moment that every race fan dreams about.
Oh my gosh, what was it?
I entered the track from the bridge that they crossed to get into the stadium area. And at the minute that I entered the track and showed my ticket and got in, I went towards the bleachers and saw a little bit of IndyCar practice. And then when practice was over, I went to a nearby field with a friend of mine that went to the race. And I was telling her throughout the session about the history of motorsports, since she wasn't really knowing about it as I am, And we were in an empty field. And I was talking with her, telling her about big names like Bobby Unser, Al Unser, and Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt, And all of a sudden, I saw myself on the ground after being hit by what I could tell was a golf cart. And I stood up wondering, okay, what idiot just ran into me? And then I stood up, and the guy behind the wheel was Roger Penske. You know that name? Well, and that's like the biggest name you can meet in racing.
Yeah, 100%. That would be like, for me with Formula One, that'd be like, I don't know, Lewis Hamilton, like running you down, or somebody maybe even older. That's crazy.
It was really, really amazing. And when I saw who it was, I was like, hey, Penske, Because when you're a motorsports fan that's followed it for almost your full life, when you get run into by Roger Penske's golf cart, you can kind of accept it, you know,
You kind of are honored by it, right?
honored. So Penske, though, was good enough to ask me, of course, if I was okay and if I needed help or anything. And I was like, man, I'm fine. But can I have a picture? You know?
That's so funny. You know, it's interesting that we talk about famous people, and you brought up a couple of famous people earlier. So there's a guy who now does it's not derby, but it's rally cars, and he used to be a Formula One racer, and he is having a aortic replacement like last week, I guess, and he did great. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but also the the head ref for the Super Bowl this past year had a descending aortic dissection. What else? There's so many people. Bill Paxton had an issue with his aorta. That's actually what unfortunately took his life, was his replacement didn't go well with his aortic valve. You can look that up. Alan Thicke passed away from an aortic dissection.
Can I mention one?
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger had a valve issue, a bicuspid aortic valve that he had to replace. And if he didn't replace it, he would have had a dissection. That's what his doctor
That is one of the main risks. Yes, bicuspid aortic valves is one of the main risks. And Douglas, you want to hear something else that's crazy?
Yeah.
You know your uvula at the back of your mouth, like the little dangly thing?
Uh-huh.
One of the things that it's not 100%. So if you have this, don't freak out. But some people have two little dangly things at the back of their throat. It's called a bifid uvula. And that can be an indicator that you might have a risk of a bicuspid aortic valve and therefore a risk of aortic disease.
Yeah, I may need to look into that. I don't believe I have one, but it might be good to check. There was a person in my
good to check.
Yeah, there was a person in my family that I heard did have a dissection, although I don't know if it was connected to anything genetic. That I don't know for sure, but I am aware that it was a dissection, and nobody else in my family has gotten it, so I don't know if it's really a risk for me, but still, you never know. I should get checked down the road.
You know, if it's a cousin or something, we typically, but again, it's those first degree relatives. So like your friend whose father passed away, right? From aortic dissection, they need to be monitored. They need to be getting imaging. We have a family screening guide on our website, johnritterfoundation.org, that can help people find out what to ask their doctor if anyone in their family has ever had an aortic dissection. So it's worth knowing. We also have this thing called the Ritter Rules, which are based off of the American Heart, American College of Cardiology recommendations and guidelines. And it's a simple distilled version of the recommendations. So that has really good information. Like, what are the symptoms? What are the risk factors? What are the triggers? What do I ask my doctor? Those are all within Ritter Rules.
Yeah, sounds good. This is the last question I have, which is how can your journey impact the world?
So Douglas, I'm so glad you asked this. So it's so obvious why I'm a part of this organization, right? It's personal, it's professional. I am able to change the face of aortic disease, right? And then I talked to my friend Ellen, my chief science officer, Ellen Hostetler, and she doesn't have a personal connection to this. No one in her family has died from aortic dissection. She obviously knows about aortic dissection. She worked in Dr. Diana Milowitz's lab prior to the John Ritter Foundation. But what's interesting about her story is she said there are so many genetic genes out there, but this one we can outwit. There is a fix. And so how my journey is going to change the world is I'm going to continue to tell my story, but I'm also going to tell the story of John and of Michael, who I know in Fort Worth, who had a dissection and survived, and of Connor, the 15-year-old who passed away because unfortunately his genetic disease wasn't caught at an early age. and the foundation that I eat, live, breathe, everything. I'm here on, spring break weekend in Maryland because we had an event here. The work that we are going to do is going to save lives because we are going to prevent aortic dissections. And I said it earlier today, Douglas, but I believe I am a part of the change and a part of the vision of a world without aortic dissection.
I would agree. I really hope and I truly believe we can get to this point where we can tell aortic dissection, you get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now it won't take anybody else.
Exactly. I 100% agree. And it's something I tell people because they're like, "Oh, this is terrible. Like it just runs in your family." Every family has something. This is ours. And so I'm going to do everything within my body and soul to make sure that this won't affect anyone else in my family. And this has a ripple effect because it's not just about me. And we are going to save lives all over this country, all over the world through our research and our education, our engagement, and our advocacy. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people find you?
Great question. So if you go to johnritterfoundation.org, that is our website. If you go to the Aorta Academy, we have so many resources. But if you want to get in touch with me or Ellen or anybody else in our organization, there is a contact us page that you can get in touch with us. We're also very active on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on X, we are on Threads. So if this is something that you want to connect with us through there, you can also do that. We also have events throughout the nation. So if you go to johnritterfoundation.org and we happen to be in your backyard, we would love to meet you. We also love making sure that people are getting to the right places. And we are here for you. But johnritterfoundation.org is your first stop for sure.
Sounds good. So I thank you for coming on. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate you.
No problem. So everybody, please check out the John Ritter Foundation on the website she mentioned. Attend a lot of events involving them so you can meet Meredith in person. And everyone, let us put a stop to aortic dissection by continuing to be relentless and unstoppable. See you next time.
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.